Peace be to you. I thank Yahuwah Almighty for each one of you, who supports this ministry by your subscription to this channel. And I pray that the spirit of wisdom, and of revelation be given to you in the recognition of Yahuwah, and that the eyes of your hearts may be enlightened, so that ye may know what is the hope of his calling, and what the riches of the glory of his inheritance in the saints like you. In this video clip, I shall ask the Holy Spirit of Lord Yeshua to enlighten you with a new understanding as to why Allah of the Quran is the thief who was mentioned by him. In John 10 verse 10 to 11, Lord Yeshua says, "The thief does not come except that he may steal, and kill, and destroy. I came that they may have life and may have it abundantly. I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd lays down his life on behalf of the sheep." But Allah of the Quran has come 577 years after the ascension of Lord Yeshua to his throne in heaven, in order to steal, kill and destroy the sheep of the good shepherd. However, Allah of the Arabic Quran and of Arabic Bible are homonyms, which means they have the same spelling and identical pronunciation, but they have different origins and different meanings altogether. The third top 3 reasons as to why Allah of the Quran is the thief, as mentioned by Lord Yeshua, is that Allah changed the Qibla direction of prayer from Jerusalem to Mecca city around 623 AD. Yahuwah Almighty told King David that he would put his name in Jerusalem forever. The first Solomon temple was built in Jerusalem around 967 BC. But Allah told Muhammad that Abraham first built the house of worship in Becca, which Muslims claim to be Mecca 40 years earlier than the Jerusalem temple. According to Sahih al-Bukhari Volume 4, Book 55 number 585, Muhammad was told by Allah that the first house of worship was built in Mecca and the second house of worship was built in Jerusalem at the time span of 40 years apart. The timeline of the covenant of Yahuwah Almighty established with Abraham until the first temple of worship built by King Solomon in 967 BC, conclusively dated the death of Abraham in 1771 BC. But Allah of the Quran stole the glory of Yahuwah, who put his name forever in Jerusalem, since 967 BC, and claimed in the Quran that he asked Abraham to build it in Becca instead of Jerusalem. That year was calculated backwards from 967 BC by 40 years, to be 1007 BC. But Abraham was dead about 764 years earlier than the construction of the first house of worship in Jerusalem. How could Allah of the Quran did not know that Abraham was dead around 1771 BC, when biblical data and external source, such as the Book of Jasher, helped to construct the timeline of the life of Abraham until King Solomon, proves that Allah was totally wrong. As the true prophet of Yahuwah Almighty cannot make mistake on the year of construction of his first temple, then Allah of the Quran is the thief who stole the worship of the true worshippers of Yahuwah by diverting the pagan Arabs to worship the Kaaba idol never sanctioned by Yahuwah Almighty until today. Allah of the Quran allowed Muhammad to turn his face from Jerusalem to Becca around 623 AD, when the Kaaba house had some 360 idols of the pagan Arabs until 629 AD. The mosque in Medina bears 2 Qibla points to the focal point of prayers to Petra and to Mecca at the same time, proves that Allah is a false god, who changed his mind like a man. But Yahuwah had spoken, "I am Yahuwah, I change not." How could Allah of the Quran be the same God of Abraham, when he allowed Muhammad to worship Kaaba idol for 7 consecutive years, before the idols were destroyed in 630 AD? The second top 3 reasons as to why Allah of the Quran is the thief, as mentioned by Lord Yeshua, is that Allah changed the eternal name of Yahuwah back to the God, before Moses asked Yahuwah for his name. By comparison between Exodus chapter 3 verses 13 and 15, Moses knew the God of the fathers of Abraham, Isaac and Jacob as the God, and Yahuwah added his name, as Yahuwah God of your fathers. Quran chapter 20 verse 19 to 14, Quran 27 verse 9 and Quran 28 verse 30, precisely made the revelation of Yahuwah Almighty to Moses to become redundant when the term, the God, is equivalent to El-Ilah in Arabic. So where is the phrase of Yahuwah, who spoke to Moses directly for 29 times, "I am Yahuwah your Elohim"? The top of the 3 reasons as to why Allah of the Quran is the thief, as mentioned by Lord Yeshua, is that Allah told Muhammad that, "None of you but shall enter hell," which is the fixed decree of your Lord, based on Quran chapter 19 verses 70 to 72. If any Muslims in the world can show me one precedent incident of Yahweh Almighty spoke to the Hebrew prophets, such as Abraham or Moses or Jesus, that, "None of you but shall enter hell," which is the fixed decree of your Lord, then I will make a public apology to all Muslims in the whole world. Failing which, Allah of the Quran is a blatant liar, as such so-called revelation is invalid without 2 or 3 prophets affirming the same to be true. I shall stand by the precedent law of Yahweh Almighty, that every word shall be established by the testimony of 2 or 3 eyewitnesses. Apostle Paul was led by the Holy Spirit of Lord Yeshua and wrote, "And as to prophets, let 2 or 3 speak, and let the rest judge. And if to another sitting by, there should be a revelation, let the first stop speaking. For ye can all prophesy, one by one, so that everyone may learn, and everyone be comforted." Quote 1 Corinthians 14 verse 29 to 31. The Church, as the assembly of the believers of Lord Yeshua, has prophets till today, and I have witnessed that the Holy Spirit of Lord Yeshua was invoked to speak with words of exhortation, edification and comfort. By the same Holy Spirit of Yeshua, I declare that Quran chapter 19 verses 70 to 72, which was originally written by the Arabic scribe, did not come from the mouth of Yahweh Almighty at all. To conclude, Allah has made the name of Yahweh redundant in the Quran, because he is a false god, who did not know the original meaning of the term Yahuwah. Moses knew the title of Yahuwah is the Elohim, and he asked for specific character of Yahuwah, which means Yah himself exists as superseding Al-Ilah. The Kaaba in Mecca was built before the Quran was sent to Muhammad, as told in Quran chapter 28 verse 46 and Quran chapter 34 verses 44 to 45. Allah of the Quran is the destroyer, as he explicitly spoke through Muhammad, that whoever worships him, as your Lord, shall be sent into hell. But Lord Yeshua said, "I am the way, the truth and the life. No man comes to the Father except through me." Lord Yeshua said, "I am the good shepherd." But Allah is the thief, as he stole the true gospel of Yeshua, and replaced it with the fake news of "None of you but shall enter hell," which is the fixed decree of your Lord. May Yahweh Almighty open the eyes of all Muslims to behold the truth, that Allah of the Quran cannot be the same God of Abraham of the Holy Bible. Foremost, Allah does not share the common definition of Yahuwah, which means Yahweh exists, or simply, Yah himself exists, the third person pronoun of Yah. Shalom.